lahat. Ako po si G. Tonji and welcome to Kababyan today. Kasama natin for our first live show ng Pebrero ang ating immigration law specialist mula sa Aquino and Lowe.
This American Dream segment is brought to you by Aquino and Lowe Law Firm, answering your immigration questions.
Our ever-helpful attorneys are here. Miss Allison Aquino Silva and Mr. Richard Lowe are here to take your calls with regards to immigration concerns. Tawagan niyo po kami sa 1-800-553-5724. Once again, that number is 1-800-553-5724. We also have news that the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, rather, the USCIS, announced last Friday that the filing period under the expanded DACA program will start this month already. Very, very soon, on the 18th of February, right? And also for the California residents, the undocumented individuals were able to start applying for their driver's license last January the 1st. I know a lot of people were out there, braved the lines, but now they are able to drive in California. Isn't that wonderful news?
That is wonderful. As long as they pass the test, then they're able to drive. That was a big factor. People thought you can just go and get your license, but you actually still have to pass the test.
That's right, and it has to be something you study for.
Yes, absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
All right, and then also the employment-based green card petitions, the waiting lists are still extremely short, only about 13 months. And the priority date on that is
January 1st.
January 1st. And also, lastly, for family-based green card petitions from the Philippines, for those petitioning their unmarried children, 21 years old, the waiting list for U.S. citizen petitioners, the current priority date now is 1/8/05, yeah? So January 8/05. And it continues to be faster than the waiting list for the green card holders, which the current priority date is February 22 of 2004. So this was historically never the case. So many do not know that they should become U.S. citizens. It only changed last August 2014. Attorneys, can you speak more about this?
Well, this is an interesting flip. I mean, for a long time, it was a disadvantage for Filipinos to become citizens because their petitions for their adult children would come into a category that would be further behind than the category that they were in. This was the F2B versus the F1 category. And so there was even a provision of the Child Status Protection Act which allowed people to opt out of the F1 and back into the F2 because it was such a disadvantage to encourage people to become U.S. citizens without hurting those petitions. And now we see that that has changed, that
right,
the F1 is faster, so you even have less incentive to stay in the F2B. You can become a U.S. citizen without harming that petition in most cases, and people really should, if they want to become a U.S. citizen, they really should do that and not really be too worried about losing that F2B number.
Okay, Allison?
Yes, and I actually absolutely agree. Not only is it better, necessarily better because the waiting list is now shorter for U.S. citizens, but also it's very important for people to become U.S. citizens and to engage in the civic process here in the United States.
Because a lot of Filipinos wait for so long and they keep putting it on the back burner.
Exactly, and it's important to get out there, vote, participate in the political system here because it's only through our voice, through the political system that we as a community will be able to achieve the goals that we want to achieve.
All right, thank you very much. We have our first caller with us today, si Lynn. Kamusta po, Lynn?
Ay, mabuti. Hi. Oo. Itatanong ko lang kasi meron akong friend, meron silang tourist visa for 10 years.
Okay.
And then, ngayon, nag-apply siya kasi siya ay isang engineer. So, nagkaroon siya ng opportunity na merong makapagtrabaho dito, bibigyan siya ng aid. Yung pang i-sponsor siya.
Okay.
Pero, magagamit pa rin ba niya yung tourist visa? Let's say he can go in and out the country.
Okay, great question.
Yes, and so from my understanding is that she's here as a tourist and she has been able to find a sponsor for a professional position.
Right.
And so, yes, for individuals who are going through the process of maybe applying for a tourist or a work visa, an H-1B or an O, or the list of work categories, as long as you maintain your status, do not violate it, you are entitled to still travel back and forth outside of the U.S. and to come back in using a multiple entry tourist visa. You might encounter some resistance when you're coming back into the United States. And this actually is the situation for people who have been petitioned for their green card. So we get that question a lot for individuals who may have had a family member file a petition for them, put them on, the 20-year waiting list, the 10-year waiting list, and they worry about whether they'll be able to use the multiple entry tourist visa or not.
Okay.
And it is a situation that you can go ahead, continue traveling, but you do need to ensure that you can convince the officer when you're coming back into the United States of your proper intent as a tourist, that you are going to comply, that you are going to leave the U.S. during the time that you're required to leave.
All right. Thank you very much, Lynn. I hope that answered your questions. Please call us here on Kababyan today. We are taking your calls with our immigration specialist from Aquino and Low, 1-800-553-5724. We'll be right back here on Kababyan today.